Fear is the thing that keeps us alive. Fear can be sticky and chronically. And a specific form of fear many of us are actively seeking out. We think fear is easy to get and hard to get rid of. Yet it's exactly the other way around. Fear only shows up when multiple conditions are fulfilled, and breaking just one of them makes it disappear and transform into excitement. What we cannot change is the first reaction. The split-second decision to trigger fear. A psychological background job, running very fast and autonomously. Controlled by our mid and stem brain. The primal parts of our brain we share with our animal relatives. Yet what we can change is how the fear story continues. Not only in this very moment, but also rewire it for similar situations in the future. And we can do this through a cooperation from the primal parts of our brain, our unconscious, and the newer parts of our brain. But the bad news is, this cooperation we typically manage terrible. And the reason for that is, these two parts of our brain talk in different languages. Our new fancy part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, uses words and reasoning. Our primal and mid-stem brain uses a language of images, noises, smells, and most importantly experiences. And even more, our mid and stem brain has its own evaluation of how things look like. A 5 centimeter spider can be drawn easily 2.5 meters big on our inner image, and we get shrinked to 50 centimeters, making the fear we have in this situation very reasonable. But from the image we see, the fear reaction is hardly understandable and also very annoying often. So what we typically do is start reasoning with our stem brain, using words and logic. And when the stem brain remains unimpressed by our arguments, and we turn on the heat, get loud, use strong words, intimidate, and using threats. But from the perspective of our inner image, this is nonsense. We are barely hanging on a cliff with a 300-meter drop below. And now we are made to believe this is not dangerous and we should just let go. And if we do not follow orders, we are shouted on and intimidated. This conscious voice much more looks like a foe than a friend. So a strong and demanding stance against fear strengthens and stabilizes fear, because our intimidated stem brain just got one more enemy. And to overcome this language barrier, we can start redrawing, understanding the inner image, and redesign it together. For our stem brain to release fear into our experience, 3 conditions need to be fulfilled at the same time. There needs to be a threat to our future, we cannot cope or run, and we are strictly focused on that threat. In our inner image, these 3 conditions are somewhat translated as the threat is a big bad thing, not cope or run means we feel very small, and strictly focused means the dangerous object feels very close, directly in front of our nose in the inner image. And the good news now is that by already changing one out of these 3 conditions, we not just weaken our fear, but we transform it into excitement, a feeling we often invest a lot of time and money to get. The first condition necessary for fear is the tunnel vision on the big bad threat. In our inner image, a nose length away, staring directly into our eyes, with the effect on our experience that we feel fully immersed and mesmerized by that dreadful grim mask we face. So in the language of our inner image, we need to create space. We need to break this hypnosis. And a simple trick to create that space is to remember our different personalities, formed through the countless experience in our life. Stepping out of the fearful personality and stepping into an experience of strength, into another personality. Allowing us to break this hypnosis and put us back into a steering position to deal with the challenges at hand. The second condition necessary for our fear to exist is a threat to our future, on our inner image, represented as a big bad object wearing a dreadful mask. And this dreadful and overwhelming character is also a point to destabilize fear. The initial evaluation of our unconsciousness as a threat can be totally wrong. Literally anything can be judged as a threat on our inner image. So the question is, if our logic doesn't lead to a re-evaluation and we cannot force one, how else can a re-evaluation happen? And the answer is decoration. We can add one single element to the dangerous object, and by doing so, we are changing the situation completely. By adding a decoration element to the object, we add another experience to it. And by adding one experience ingredient to the mix, the overall experience tastes completely different. And not only does this decoration change the moment right now, it also changes the situations in the future. Because experiences that happen together stick together. Experiences have the feature to glue together when they are activated together. So next time the dreadful mask shows up, the rollerblades show up too. But just danger and being mesmerized and immersed into it still isn't enough to trigger fear. The third condition is the belief that we cannot cope or escape, shown in our inner image as shrinking us down to a tiny size. So interestingly, when we are fighting or fleeing, we don't feel this negative kind of fear. The fear we want to get rid of is when we cannot fight or flight anymore. The moment we freeze, the moment we are out of tricks and feel completely stuck and out of options, a state of psychological paralysis. And the trick to break this condition is to actively think of and look for and build options. Let's take a scary presentation, for example. We imagine only one outcome. We mess up a tiny thing, get laughed at, and our future is doomed. But on a second note, and if you really think about it, is that really likely to be judged in that way? And even if it happened, would it truly threaten our future? And even beyond that, if we experience such a situation, it would raise the importance of that skill. It would provide the motivational energy to learn that skill. Like a base jumper doing 1,000 practice jumps, each one let us grow on our inner image. In essence, turning fear into excitement means shifting personalities, redrawing experiences in our favor, and opening up as many options as possible.